Some homework for everyone is to define the concept of sport management, first of all. Experiential learning, particularly brand, absolutely essential, is really the keys to the kingdom for employment. I have a plan and you're calm, then you can see that there is a route for you to be successful in sport. And we need skilled people at different areas in a sports organisation. Are students developing a brand? This is one of the biggest problems that I see with students, is that they are not committed to becoming knowledgeable about where they want to go. It's a very exciting time to be involved in sport. As you have to, two things, you have to shake the tree so that the fruit will fall from it, or you have to look over the wall to see what's over there.
Hi. So before we begin, I want to be very honest with you. I'm not here as someone who has made it big in the sports industry. I'm a student, I'm learning, and I'm still figuring things out, just like many of you watching this. I love sports. I've studied about it. But one question that keeps on bugging me is that where do I really fit in? Is it management? Is it operations? Is it media, strategy? Or is it something which I haven't even discovered yet? This podcast exists because of questions like this. Dream Sports is Sudip. It's not about answering from the top. It's about learning together, asking better questions, and learning something which we can apply in the real life. Today, I'm learning from someone who has been in the sport industry for a very, very long time. He has worked with 4 different universities as a sports management professor. He has been a consultant in the sports industry for more than 30 years. He has worked with international organizations from top to bottom, international athletes, and helped them grow their careers. And what makes this conversation even more valuable is that he not only teaches sports careers, he even mentors them through his sports career mentoring program, which we'll get to know more when this podcast progresses, in which he teaches students where they really fit in, what skills they need, and how to break into the sports industry. So without further ado, please welcome Mr. Robert Keilty. Robert, welcome, and thank you for doing this for the students.
Thank you for that very kind introduction.
So I want to just start this conversation by asking you a very common confusion that we students generally have is we love sports, but sometimes we really are confused that what role do we actually fit in. So, and I can assure you that most of the students who are watching this feel the same way. So my first question for you will be, when a student comes to you with a passion for sports, but no clarity, what's the very first thing that you kind of give them as an advice?
I think the first piece of advice is to have a plan, and this I'm sure will be a common theme this afternoon during the presentation, is to have a plan and also to look at defining exactly what it is they're interested in and potentially what they want to go into. So for example, if we were defining sport event management or sports management, I would want your students to look at the different definitions and to look to see how big the organisation and how big the concept is. And then this would give them a rough idea, an overview of the so many different areas that they can go into for long-term employment. So I think it's looking at doing some homework for everyone, is to define the concept of sport management, first of all, and go from there.
So, as we all know, like sports management in general is a very broad term, right? So, what does it really mean today?
Yes, so I think classically, sports management would mean sports development, sports administration, sports officiating. It would also mean communication. For some people, it also means sport event management, looking in events. But then there's also looking at the general concept globally of sports management. And you will find that in different parts of the world, sports management has different aspects to it. So it could have digital communication connected to it. It could have high performance. It could have looking after athletes. It could be community sport. So I think this is the key thing, Sudip, is to get students to celebrate how big the organisation of sports management globally is.
So I try to say like what subfields should be students really aware of? Like for example, today nowadays you can see artificial intelligence is there, so analytics is there, event operations is there, brand partnerships is there. Does this all come under the sports management thing?
Yes, I think a very good example or a good piece of advice for students is to look at perhaps an organisation that they have an interest in or they like, whether it be football, cricket, rugby, swimming, or tennis or golf. If they look at the organisation, then what they should be able to see is how this organisation is structured. And this is what we tend to tell students. Look at a classic organisation and then look at the job and the posts and the opportunities within this organisation. So let's say, for example, if you look at a professional football club, you will see now that within sports management, they will have people looking after athletes, they will have people looking after fans, they will have a digital aspect to it, then they will have a community aspect, then they will have a finance aspect. So you see, I think while my advice is important today, I would urge your listeners to look at the different organisations they are interested in, because it varies from continent to continent.
So it definitely, like the sports careers that we talk about nowadays, it definitely goes beyond only coaches and physios, right? That's right.
Most certainly. Absolutely. And I think that if you are giving advice today, which we are doing, this is the key thing for students is they are to empower themselves to look beyond what are the classic definitions of these areas.
Okay. So like from there, what students mainly look after is jobs. Okay. So my next thing to ask you is like, what jobs are actually hiring right now? Like which ones are the growing fastest? Like there are a lot of digital content roles coming in. What we are doing, I think it's come under that the rise of like data and analytics in performances. Okay. Uh, and some business side is also coming in sports. So what do you think like kind of are the fastest growing ones?
Yeah, so I'd like to perhaps answer this in terms of the general overview for your listeners. So sport is now a commodity. So there is more people consuming sport on television, on computers, on their phones. So that there is a digital aspect of sport that did not exist 20, 30 years ago. So because of this, the explosion of digital needs for sports organisations is by far the fastest growing area. And you could associate esports with this. So I think that the key thing is the digital expansion of sport. So for example, analysis, data analysis, data collection is all very important, as well as the traditional areas of sport. So high performance, physical education, sport coaching. These areas, Sudip, they've never went away. And I would say that probably the key thing today is more organisations mostly have a corporate social responsibility. And with this comes probably an engagement ethically and morally with the clients. So again, this perhaps wasn't there 20, 30 years ago. So all of these areas create employment.
So like you're talking about companies.
Yes.
But there are other like roles, like for example, in fan engagement as well, in community building as well. There are roles like that. So what are your say about those roles?
Yes, I think at this moment in time, then most organisations are probably obsessed, quite rightly, with ethical and moral delivery. And with this comes client, fans, supporters engagement across all different sports.
Which creates new jobs as well.
Incredible amount of employment. Yeah.
As we continue more, first of all, commendable to see that Robert is doing this with his hand broken and it has plaster in it. So thank you so very much. So as we talk about esports, you just mentioned about esports. So along with that, technology is playing a very vital role in every aspect of work right now. Me as a student, I'm very fascinated about AI. So esports, tech, AI, these are like, do you think these are real, like these can create a real opportunity for students in the sports industry? Like, do you think esports organization growing, use of AI and the vigorous use of AI as we are doing right now, and the students are using as well, for example, ChatGPT, Grok, Claude. So do you think like this will play a very vital role in the near future?
100%. I think not just our organisations and universities and educational institutions all over the world now using AI and esports also at the same time. I think most organisations now are firmly embedded using artificial intelligence. So my advice for students would be, if they are studying, at the same time have a parallel direction of travel, which is looking at the improving their own artificial intelligence, and also looking at, again, how organisations are using technology now the way they did not use prior to this?
uh, I recently got I was reading an article where I got through someone talking about using of AI in scouting, analytics, even like how tech skills pair with sports knowledge and how that can create like kind of opportunities. So what do you think about that?
I think that's a very good point. I would say that at this moment in time, data analysis, data interpretation, and also the delivery of data, probably more important, is absolutely essential. So, for example, organizations are now looking for the skill that people have about presenting data. So how is this done? Is it done through graphs, done through interpretation? And again, we have evolved from just verbalizing data feedback to now putting something on graphs, on reports. And I think this is something that's characterized most organizations in sport, is how this data is communicated both to performers, athletes, coaches, workers, sports managers. I think this is the key thing for students, is that if they can be proficient and competent at how data is interpreted, this is the key.
So, like as a student, we talk about a lot of myths going on, like what kind of skills. As a student, I'm very worried about like the amount of skills that I have. Will that be enough to get into sports industry? Or some myths that I can overthink, or just like me and many other students overthink as well. So, generally, as a professor yourself, you must be meeting a lot of students who's talking about a lot of myths, which I would like you to break it down today. So, what myth do you hear most from students planning a career in sports?
The first one would be that qualifications is the end of the journey. And I would say that, of course, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
This is critical. Most students should know this. I think also the second myth would be the importance. Well, it's just a case of having the qualification, and therefore there is a guarantee for employment. I think across the world, those who are successful in sport, if we look at commonality and if we look at the traits of successful people in sport, we will see that the qualification is just almost a statutory award. The rest, experiential learning, particularly brand, absolutely essential, is really the keys to the kingdom for employment.
But what about myths like when I was coming back from my country? So people used to ask me that you need to be an athlete to come into a sports industry. Sports jobs are more about money and fame. It's too competitive to break in. So you must have gotten a lot of questions like that. So what's your say on that?
Again, I think this is a fantastic point that you're raising. I think superficially, we can be intimidated by sport. We can intimidated because it's, as you said, it's performance based, as in mostly sport is about people performing, ultimately, athletes, performers. And again, it would be easy, and it's wrong for students to think, okay, I haven't played tennis, I haven't played 500 games, I haven't swam for the Olympic Games, etc. But times are moving on, Sudip. We have evolved now. And again, I go back to my original point. I think students are now, they have the ability and the tools to look at organizations that they're interested in and to see what roles are created with this organization. And you will find that really the athlete high performance aspect is a small area now. We now need much more employment in these organizations.
So like being an athlete, even if you're not an athlete, you can still get into this industry.
Most certainly.
Yeah. So like because many people just back out saying that, oh, I have never played the sports in a very international level, so I should not belong here. But it's nothing like that, right?
I would say that one of the things I wanted to say to everyone was to have a philosophical look at sport.
True.
And to also philosophically look at you as a person and where you're going. Because if you have a plan and you're calm, then you can see that there is a route for you to be successful in sport. And I agree with your sentiments exactly. Often sport is prohibitive to people looking at it, as in I haven't been successful or I haven't been a performer. And really, we are moving away from that quickly because high performance people cannot do everything. And it just simply wouldn't be correct to ask people to be multi-skilled. We need skilled people at different areas in a sports organization.
So that also breaks the myth that it's not about too competitive. It's more about being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, I think good fortune. I tend not to use the word luck because most people make their own fortune. I would say having good fortune is important. And I think connected to this is this idea of a strategy. We'll perhaps talk about this later.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, like, as we talk about, as we break the myth now, so what kind of skills do you think like most sports careers today need? Like, so you study masters or bachelors in sports, and you completed your masters or bachelors in sports universities, but you just not told that that itself is important, but that not the only part, that not the only aspect. You need a lot of other things as well. So can you tell me some about like the skills which really matter most for students right now in the sports industry?
Again, I would say we have to look at society in general. And I think the skills that society value are exactly the same in sport. So, for example, hard work, devotion, enthusiasm, integrity, morality. And I would add to this idea of being digitally competent to look at data and produce reports, produce graphs very quickly. And at the same time, is our students developing a brand? So these things are running in parallel with each other. I think it would be wrong to suggest that they are in isolation. I think everything is part of a jigsaw.
True.
But I would definitely say that societal values are as important today as they always have been. We look for people who are hardworking, reliable, they have integrity, they're enthusiastic about what they're doing, and again, humility.
So can you tell me like something about a particular, like, so you're telling that there shouldn't be, there is no any particular skill that you want to talk about, but like for example, if a person is wanting to go towards sports management, like event management, okay, uh, do you know like what kind of skills he must carry to work there?
Yeah, I should have said this before. I think what the sole indicator for me for being successful, which is connected to someone's brand, Sudip, is knowledge, and the quench or the thirst for knowledge. I see so many students they have only learned an area superficially, but they expect to be higher. And I think this is one of the biggest problems that I see with students, is that they are not committed to becoming knowledgeable about where they want to go, to the fine detail. And again, if you look at other performers or people who work in sport, over a period of time you will see this, that mostly they are exceptionally knowledgeable about the area because they have spent time doing this. I think there is no quick fix. I think it's important to say this. And well, you can have a quick fix, but so long as you're prepared to learn knowledge quickly. And I see this is one of the biggest flaws I see with many students, is that they are not committed to becoming an expert in their area or becoming very knowledgeable. And that this maybe should answer your question. In the areas of sports management, I think it's good if students define where they were interested in working and then decide. We always have to be informed. I think you know this.
Yeah.
We always want everyone to be informed about what they're doing. And I think if you are informed, someone will trust you to give you employment.
So you are telling like, so basically a student should have this much clarity that okay fine, if I'm going towards event management, or if I'm going towards something towards communication or operations, what exactly goes in there to have the knowledge of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and again, everyone can get this through looking at job advertisements, job applications. They can focus on case studies on individuals.
Like what role they want.
Yes, what are they doing?
And study according to that.
Exactly.
Correct. So like as you talk about now skills or the experience that you want. So do you think like there is always a debate about experience and degree? So do you think like which matters more? Because sometimes we talk about okay, oh, this guy has that degree, but you will see sometimes that a guy with a lesser degree than someone is working at a better place in the sports industry. So do you think like in experience versus degree, which matters the more?
Yes, again, a very good question. my own personal opinion is experience is critical, more critical than the qualifications. But everyone, including myself, we have to realise that most organisations have a statutory requirement legally and risk assessment and safety to have a qualification. So most organisations in sport are bound by this statutory prescriptive qualification. For example, you have to have a degree, you have to have a master's degree. But we could have 100 people with a master's degree applying. Once that happens, then of course the most important question is, how much experiential learning has this person got? What is their brand like? They will look at the potential. They will look at the variety of organisations that they've worked with. And this is key, and also references. So I think qualifications to get there, beyond this, always experience.
So, like in experience, it comes like there are certain criteria like which comes under experience. There can be internships, there can be volunteering, there can be a student can make their own portfolios. Um, so, what is your say about like so if I want to make a portfolio of mine of experience that I want to show, what can I do?
Yeah, again, so if we look at the world of sport at the moment, there's millions of jobs. It's a very exciting time to be involved in sport. As you said at the beginning, I have made a living in sport. I've had a very exciting time. I've travelled all over the world, etc. So it has worked for me. So to be successful, I would say one of the key things is to understand where you're going. And I think a degree of humility is important. So seeing the importance of maybe working in a small local volunteering project and seeing the value of this against, let's say, overreaching. So I want to work in, let's say, the USA for an internship, which is very competitive at the moment. So I think the plan, what I would probably advise everyone to have a plan, really is to recognise the importance of experiential learning, regardless of the level. I think this is critical. Now, the second part of that is, I genuinely think with so many people applying for jobs, I think students empowering themselves, and you said it earlier, is to make up their own individual profile, communicate this to people. Even podcasts such as this goes a huge way to convincing someone that we have a dynamic, enthusiastic, knowledgeable person. And I think once someone realises this, accepts it, I think then you're in a good place for employment long term, rather than wait for someone to just arrive and say, "Look, here is a job." As we know, this
Gonna come.
this very rarely happens. Yeah.
Nothing's gonna come if you're just sitting in the house.
So I always say to people, you have to two things: you have to shake the tree so that the fruit will fall from it, or you have to look over the wall to see what's over there. I think we have so many students now who don't do any of them. They are not empowering themselves to take action, and I think this is a critical skill, really.
So you will agree to the fact that real world exposure has an edge over GPA?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Right. So most students are a lot concerned about GPA. Like this one mark I have to get, this one marks I have to get. But do you think that like the real world exposure is much more important than your GPA, that you're like how much marks you're getting?
Absolutely. There is no doubt about that. And if again, I would just gently advise people to look at organisations and probably significant others or mentors or people they see that are successful or perceived successful, and to look at the journey that they've been on, and you'll see that in almost all of the cases that there is a journey of experiential learning to get there, always, and this is because sport values experiential learning. You have to, because other than that, if you don't have experiential learning, organisations really won't take the risk of employing you. It's too much of a risk. And I think this is where the experience comes in.
The organisation will not only look at your GPA and will just give you the job if you don't have an experience. That's exactly what you're like trying to say.
Mostly. I think it's important to see that, as I said at the beginning of this question, the qualifications are important to reach a certain level. And this is why when people are applying for positions, those who don't have the qualifications are often disregarded because they don't have the statutory requirement. As soon as you have the statutory requirement, then it becomes a competitive game, doesn't it?
If I make it like if I say it in a layman's term, qualification is important, but in a basic level, as a foundation
Yes,
level.
exactly.
But other than that, the moment you get your basic education, the moment you get your basic foundation right, then it's more about experience, then it's more about
completely that.
Before I wrap up this video, I want to talk about something very important which I've been mentioning throughout the podcast, which is Robert's career mentoring program, the Pro Perform Sports. Through this, he has helped a lot of students and professionals build serious sports careers through networking, practical guidance, and mentoring, and a lot more. I will drop down the link below in the description. You guys can go and check it out, and it can be really, really useful for you guys in the long run. As you know, when you're building a sports career or any career in that sense, you need a right direction. Along with that, you need right people around you as well. It makes a lot of difference. In the next part 2 coming up really soon, we deep down into actions, skills, strategy, and a 12-month roadmap as well. So stay tuned. And if this video has helped you in any way, do not forget to leave a like, subscribe for more such videos, and if this video gave you clarity, do share it with another sports student who needs clarity just like us. I'll see you in the next one.